Hi, everyone. This is Michelle with the Wire Painters podcast. In this episode, I interviewed background designer Joy Han. I've known Joy for many years, and I was curious to learn about her recent breakthroughs in her work. We talked about her current mentality that's led her to create art that's most true to herself and how taking classes don't always allow you to perform at your best. I think we can all learn from Joy's stress-free approach to art and how plein-air painting has helped with that.
I'm currently a background designer at Warner Brothers. I'm on this show called The Animaniacs. I don't know if everyone's familiar with that show, but I didn't know it before I got the job. I emailed them and I asked, well, can you tell me a little more about the show? Because I have no idea. I just want to get an idea of what it is before I go in. And then they were super confused. They're like, what do you mean?
Oh, no.
but they understood, like, after, like, oh, okay, you didn't grow up here. I gotcha. Anyway, I'm happy to be on it.
So have you always been into art? Like, since childhood, were you the class artist?
I wanted to be an artist mostly, like a painter. And
cool.
But then I just thought, well, I can't make a living off of it, so I'll just dream about it, which is really sad, but I guess somehow it worked out.
Yeah, your first dream became a reality.
Yeah, I've been extremely fortunate.
Now, since you wanted to be an artist since you were so young, was that because you knew other artists, or was there what inspired you to want to be an artist?
You know, I can't say that anyone's influenced me. Maybe my dad. My dad's somewhat artistic, and my grandma used to do all these like paper cutouts that were really cute and really cool. I mean, I never thought much of them, but maybe it could have influenced me a little bit. I'm not too sure. But my dad, maybe he's influenced me a little bit, because I think I've watched him paint once, and he'll say things like, you know, don't always paint the colors you think you see. Be, more inventive, see past it, or something. I don't really quite remember what he had said, but now I fully get it.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. So I guess when I was in first grade, I started taking art lessons. And I think those really helped give me a head start. It was so much fun because we would get topics like draw a shoe house. You know what I mean? Like a house.
Very, very creative.
It looks like
subject.
Yeah, exactly. But they had levels, I think. So I think by the time I got to the third grade or something, they had me start doing still lives, which I found really cool at first because darn, like, I want to learn how to paint realistically, like so I can see the forms of things, just using colors and value. I mean, I didn't really know what value meant really, but.
And it sounds like your parents were probably pretty supportive, right? If they put you in art classes.
Yes, they were very supportive, actually. I'm, once again, very thankful of that, because I think I get influenced by other people very easily. And if they weren't at all supportive, if they were like, oh, well, I forbid you to do art because you're going to be so poor and you're going to just live off of the streets and like beg for money or something, then I don't think I'd be able to do it. I'd be scared. But that didn't happen. I kept going with it.
So back to when you were taking art classes, it sounded like those are probably when you first started doing traditional painting, right? Do you remember what kind of paints you guys used?
Actually, watercolor.
Uh-huh.
Which I can't believe I started using watercolors, because now I think they're the hardest medium to actually use. But yeah, I used Yeah, watercolor for sure. But they started me off with oil pastels, I think.
Oh yeah, I remember using those.
Yeah, oil pastels and then watercolor and then soft pastels, which I love.
Uh-huh.
And then I think after 3 years of art lessons, they started having me do oils. So I started using oils in 6th grade.
Did
And then,
they have you do anything like plein air painting, like going on location to paint?
no, I'm guessing that it's a concern for them because then they would have to be responsible for all these kids. So I didn't really get to do that until, I want to say until college. Let's
I
see.
think that's pretty common because most people probably they probably never heard of plein air until they went to like an art school or took an art class, right? And I assume that's probably when you first heard about or learned about plein air painting, which was in
I
college.
think so. I'm not even sure. Like the first time I did it, I don't think I knew it was called plein air painting. I just thought, oh, landscape painting, painting outdoors, you know?
So, do we meet at USC?
We
And
did meet at USC.
right, so that's when we first got to know each other quite a while ago.
It was
So,
a long time
take
ago.
us through your art education journey. So you went to school for animation, which is
I went to this
similar to me.
school for animation, and I think you know how I feel about it because afterward I went to another school because that first school didn't help me learn anything.
Right.
But it did help me realize that I wanted to work in animation. So there's that. I took I think a concept design class, and instantly I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do.
Yeah. There were a couple of us, we kind of had the same journey, right? We started at USC, realized we didn't want to do animation, and then we went to something that was still related to animation, but more towards like the design and illustration part. And it's just funny how we all
Yeah.
just kind of like keep crossing paths and are
Yeah.
all like ended up together.
Right. I think we're all similar in that way. I think most of us, we don't actually want to animate. We don't actually want to, for the most part, I think we're mostly just interested in the designing aspect of things. And plein air paintings definitely helped with that as well.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
speaking of which, that was actually one of my questions for you. Like, how do you feel plein air painting has helped you with what you do for work and for your career?
well, I mean, it has helped, but given that I'm a background designer currently, and that I've only really mainly been a background designer, which means I don't deal with color most of the time. It doesn't really affect me, but I guess it does help me think about composition a little bit, I suppose. I mean, even though when I'm painting something outdoors, I just kind of sometimes I just center it or like put it off to the side a little. There isn't like dynamic camera shots or anything, but also I think it's been really busy on our show lately, and they've been asking me to actually paint a couple things. And
Oh,
so fortunately, right, I know how to paint a little. So
yeah, yeah. That it helps that you also have that skill and you know how to paint too.
right. So I wasn't super nervous about it. I was like, yeah, let me paint something, you know?
Do you have a preference for one or the other? Though it sounds like you've mostly done background design. Do you want to do more background painting on shows?
I do want to do more background painting. I want to be more familiar with background painting for sure. I think a lot of painters I see they can really play with color, and that's something that I really want to do, even
And
if
that's
they're not.
something your dad told you to do from the very beginning, right?
From the very beginning, which I mean, I think I'm doing a little bit of it, but I think I want to do more of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I want to simplify things and play with color and make it look interesting, but at the same time not overdo it. So I guess that's where plein air comes in handy because sometimes I'll try to push my colors a little bit, and then I look at it and then I realize, ooh, did I go too far with it or no?
I was looking at your work recently and I feel like you something must have clicked or I've been really loving the direction you've been going with the stylization. Did something happen
Oh, thank
or
you.
something?
Well, okay, that's another thing. I started this whole pandemic. I think it's actually kind of helped me, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
I mean, even before COVID had ever happened, I felt like I was just my life was pretty much the same. I would work on work, and I would come home and do personal work. But I felt like I wasn't taking enough time to go out and seek inspiration. I think I was getting a little bit of a cabin fever, so I had to start taking really long walks in my neighborhood. I live in Pasadena, and it's a very nice area with lots of beautiful houses and yards and trees. And so I'll take my phone with me, and then whenever I see something that catches my eye, I'll take a picture of it. I have so many pictures now, but and then I just thought, well, I just want things to flow. That's how I felt. I just want to relax. I want to feel energy flowing through me. It sounds really abstract, I know, but I want my energy to flow through me. I don't want to be frustrated because I feel like a lot of times I spend too much time sitting in front of my computer and I'm just constantly frustrated when I'm working on something because I want it to look good but I wasn't really thinking about how I wanted to feel, I guess. But now with the idea of having it flow through me and mine, I just wanted things to feel, I guess, free and that there's a rhythm to them, I suppose.
Yeah, I was gonna say that that's definitely the feeling I'm getting from your paintings. There's this gestural, rhythmic, like feeling, and you really feel that movement. It's really, really nice. I feel very, very drawn to it.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same about your art. I feel like you always have these wispy shapes.
Yeah, and I feel like we're both kind of trying to get at that similar I don't know, effect or feeling.
Yeah.
Um, in our own ways, which is really, really cool. And I'm always drawn to art that's kind of like that.
Yeah. I feel like the things I've been creating, they feel more like me.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're still, I guess, technically virtual plein airs, but I started to want to make them look a little different. Since, I have my computer anyway, I could just tweak things however I wanted to, so I could experiment a little more. I guess whereas before, when I was doing gouache with everybody, that was really nice. I loved hanging out with everybody and chatting and painting. It was harder to explore shapes and how things come together, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess I'm a messy person. It's hard for me to be shapely with my gouache paintings. I really did want to, but I couldn't. So I guess in this sense, with the virtual plein airs that have been going on, it's been helping me explore a little more, even though I feel like I'm taking much longer on them than I should.
Well, I don't think there's like you should be taking whatever amount of time to finish something. It's really up to you, however much you want to give to it.
Yeah, that's true. I've been telling myself to, how artists, we all, like a lot of us, get kind of anxious when we're not being as prolific.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But recently I have relaxed a lot more because I just feel like, well, I got into art in the first place so I could be happy. So why stress myself out,
So it sounds like you're You're in a pretty good place with your art right now, where you're happy with what you're producing and what direction it's going.
Right now I am, and I'm hoping it's going to keep going for a little longer because oftentimes I find myself falling into like a pit or something, and then it takes me another couple months to get out. It's terrible.
There's ups and downs.
There's
Right?
ups and downs. I guess we all go through that, but right now I feel okay about it because I think I'm not anxious about it. That's the thing. I cannot stress myself out when I'm creating art, unfortunately. I know that's like the driving force for certain people, but that's not for me. If I'm stressed when I'm making art, it would always be bad art. I don't think there's ever an exception, unfortunately.
So what
Yeah.
do you do when you are stressed?
Wow, that's a good question.
So do you step away from art then in those moments?
I do tend to step away a little bit, or I just move on to another piece. Say if I'm doing a plein air paintings, they don't usually take that long. So I guess if I'm doing a bat one, I'll just tell myself, well, there are many more to come, and then I'll
Yeah.
keep going, I guess. So I don't stress too much about it. So I guess that's my mentality. But say if I'm creating something for my portfolio, for instance, I think that's a little different because then I'm thinking about, oh, I have to put a lot of effort into this to make it look nice, to make it look presentable. Um, I think that's when I stress myself out. So, in that sense, I think I need to bring my attitude towards plein air painting into my, well, I don't want to say personal work because I've been enjoying doing my personal work lately, but I guess for like work that would benefit my career.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
I think for anyone doing portfolio, and I know for me personally, doing portfolio work is so much pressure. I'd rather just be doing something like
right.
fun, painting outside.
Yeah. And recently I've come to a conclusion that I don't need to stress myself out with new portfolio pieces because what I'm doing can be portfolio pieces depending on what I want to do, and what I'm doing for myself is what I want to do most. So I think it makes sense that I can just have fun and keep working at my own pace and not worry about too much so I can create good work, good inspired work.
Yeah, I like that. I like that plein air kind of helps you give a healthier approach to doing your personal work or portfolio work and
Yeah,
just reminding yourself this to have fun, not
right. And
be too stressed.
yeah, and I think that's why doing plein air paintings is an enjoyable thing to me because I'm just sitting outside and, well, before this pandemic, I'd just be sitting outside and enjoying whatever I'm looking at and yeah, just painting.
So when you
So
started coming, were you still in school then? Or was that after?
I'm pretty sure that was after. Um, I think I was at Starburns. So that's where. Oh, it was a while ago, I suppose. It
Yeah.
was I think it was a cemetery that we went to, an aviation cemetery. I don't know the name.
Oh, I forget the name of it, but it's right behind Fry's, right?
Right. I remember that it was an overcast day because I remember my painting.
I think I remember that day too because I was struggling.
Oh, but yeah, so that was my first session. Made a really good decision to join you guys.
Yeah, I'm very glad.
Yeah. I think even though I don't always show up, I always feel like I'm a part of the group. Even though there's always old members leaving and new members coming in, I always feel like I'm welcome to join.
Yeah.
Yeah, which that's something I really like about the group.
I've
And
always noticed you seem pretty disciplined. about like, I'm going to take this next month and dedicate it to my personal work or whatever other goals you have? Is this just something you've always been able to do?
Well, maybe I seem pretty disciplined on the outside.
You seem disciplined. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I'm glad. I feel like I can probably be a little more disciplined, but every artist feels that way, so who knows? I'm just saying things because I guess I feel like I tend to work a little slow and I want to speed things up, but at the same time I kind of want to put thoughts into whatever I'm doing. So I feel like I tend to have a pattern where I'll, I'll go into this mode where I just want to do one piece after another and I don't have to think too much about them. I just have to get them done. But then after a while, I think to myself, okay, that's enough. I need to actually put some more thought into them to make them look more interesting. So they cater to my needs, I guess, or how I feel.
And I know you take a lot of classes. Do you feel you need to have classes to help keep you motivated, or you enjoy continuing to learn?
I do find that I guess in order to push myself to paint faster, a class would definitely help. But I have noticed that whenever I take a class, it doesn't really like the stuff that I create in the class. I don't think I like most of them. I think it's because I would always feel a little stressed.
Oh yeah,
And
there's the stress coming
yeah.
in again.
And I feel like I need to create my piece in a certain way because sometimes, say if I'm taking a concept art class, most people I guess do painterly work, like really painterly and less graphic and stylized, I think. So I tend to feel I know logically that I can do whatever I want to, but I just somehow would get influenced and then I cave and try to do what everyone else was doing because I thought, oh, well, everyone else is creating super cool work. So I want to be doing that too. And I need to learn in that way.
And you said that you get influenced very easily by others, right?
I do.
Um, so do you find that that hurts or helps you in your art learning, especially in the classes? Because you said you were feeling pressured, like other people were doing things a certain way, and you're like, oh, I should do it that way. But otherwise, when you were working, like doing your own self study, and you felt like that was your most freeing time to do the art that you wanted to do, like without having outside pressures. Like you feel you do learn well in that classroom environment?
I think I learned, like I get stuff from these classes after the fact when I'm processing everything. So I think while I'm at it, I'm just trying to be a good student. And I'm not sure if that's super helpful for my artistic journey. That said, I still think it was good to have because without them, I feel like I wouldn't realize, oh, hey, well, I can do things more my way, more comfortably if I wasn't in a class.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't always take classes. I have taken a lot of classes, but I definitely take breaks in between. And in between these classes, I'd realize, well, I feel so much more relaxed and I can do whatever I want. And sometimes I still get really frustrated with what I create, but I mean, I think nowadays I've figured it out a little more. Like at least I'm liking my work a little more nowadays. And I think that's through like going in and out of these classes and like trying to figure out what exactly it is that I want to show or do or just create.
I'm curious, can I ask what your daily routine is? Like, do you dedicate a certain amount of time for art every day now that we're all home all the time in quarantine?
Yeah, I don't work very fast, like I said, but I do I do try to do a little bit of work every day unless I have something going on that evening. So basically I'll wake up in the morning, do my workout, and then start work early. I can usually get off by 4:30, and then I'll have dinner like soon after, and then I'll start just doing my personal work. So maybe I'll start maybe at 6 or 7, and then I'll end at maybe 9:30 or 10.
And that's every day?
If I don't have anything else to do, yes, that's every day. So I guess my mentality nowadays is to just relax and be happy while I'm working on something and keep being inspired. And I can go at my own speed. I don't have to worry. Like I know I still worry about being too slow because I am, but
I don't know if, so you keep saying you're too slow. Are you comparing yourself to someone else in terms of your speed? Like, why do you think you're too slow?
I guess I am. And I think I blame Instagram.
Ah, yes.
I always see people posting things.
Yeah.
I'm not posting as much, but it's okay. But then I just have this idea of myself being super slow. But I just tell myself, it's okay. You're working on it little by little. And as long as you're working on it, you're fine. And I have been feeling fine, even though I feel like I'm still slow. So yeah.
You have such a healthy approach to your work and life, it seems.
Oh, well, it's healthier now, I would say. I used to be a little more anxious, and that didn't really help me at all, actually. I mean, I guess I would create more pieces, but I would hate all of them, And then what's the point?
So it sounds like it's better to take your time and create, not try to like bang out a ton of pieces you hate, but create maybe a little bit less, but pieces that you genuinely love and just that you're happy about and inspired.
Yeah. And I think even if it takes a little longer, I think ultimately that's what I would want for myself.
All right. So I thought we could end off on do you have any tips that you could offer for people who want to get into plein air painting?
Well, I always hear that people are intimidated by all the good people out there painting.
Yeah, it's pretty common.
Yeah, I always hear that. But then I just think that's why you join the warrior painters.
Exactly.
Because people are at completely different levels. And nobody cares. They're just out to have a good time. I guess it's easier said than done, but just don't think about how scared you are and just do it. Just remember that you're trying to have fun, because painting is fun. And when you're having fun, you feel more inspired. And when you feel more inspired, you create better art, at least from my experience.
Yeah.
But I think that's certainly true. So
that was great. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. We love hearing from you. So please leave a comment and share your thoughts. If you enjoyed this podcast and want to see more from the Warrior Painters, please consider donating to our Gumroad. You'll find the link in our description. Thanks, and see you again soon.